Well, it's episode 49 and it's part 2 of the Declutter series. Welcome back, and if you're here for the first time, welcome, and I hope you really enjoy it. Go and check out part 1. I will link it somewhere. Thank you so much for listening and watching and supporting the channel. There's some cool stuff coming, more adventurous challenges, but until then, dive into mental decluttering part 2. This is how to clear your mind and focus on what matters. We spoke about the physical decluttering, having less and, coming or getting along with having less physical stuff. Mental decluttering is the same exercise. And what we want to achieve with mental decluttering is just space in your head for more creative thoughts, or for more being present type of thoughts, if that makes sense. Now, the problem with mental clutter is that sometimes we don't even know that we are mentally cluttered. We don't experience it like that because we think, that's just the normal run of the mill. We think that it's supposed to be like that. We need to be focused on many things. I spoke about multitasking, and I think we worship that as a skill in today's age, because it's just so cool if someone can be on the phone while they're cooking, while they're talking to someone, while they're working. But in essence, all of that clutter makes you do all of the stuff you do a little bit worse. I understand I am a man and we can't multitask, but I think no one should multitask, because it kind of, to me, at least according to me, it takes away the essence of doing a task really good. We are so focused on trying to do a lot of stuff that we have this overloaded mind, and we're kind of always functioning on 80% or 70%. At least that's true for me. Just as a note, anything I say on the podcast that I say we or today's people, I'm literally just referring to me. I'm making this podcast basically for me to practice being more mindful and to practice mental and physical and spiritual decluttering, which we'll talk about next week. Okay, so now that we know what the problem is, or what at least I think the problem is for me, is having an overloaded mind, let's start thinking or talking about solutions. Now, I don't know if this is trademarked or anything, but I would actually like to trademark this word, single tasking. Instead of multitasking, we need to prioritize single tasking. Single tasking for me is really just focusing on what I'm doing in the moment. Although it feels good to listen to a podcast while you're making food, it's important to focus on the food. And I know it sucks not listening to something or listening to music. I think there's a fine line between stuff you do together, but I don't think it should be tasks that really need your attention that you try to split up. So while I'm recording this podcast, I'm just recording this podcast. I'm not walking on a treadmill trying to exercise while I record. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but what I think we are so trained to do, as I mentioned, is that we're just trained, or we are focused on, I need to be so productive all the time. What mental decluttering is all about is just getting into that space where you say, okay, I'm not going to be productive now. I'm literally just going to enjoy what I'm doing. So just focus on the task that's in front of you and focus on what you need to focus on in that moment. It really helps me a lot to put away all the other extra stuff. Just focus on what I need to focus on now. Let's say cooking dinner, because now I'm cooking dinner and I'm really focusing on the food, the smell, the texture, the spices, and that really kind of just puts me in a place of peace, and it also makes my pace a little bit better. What that does is I know that there are going to be moments where I need to be productive and need to do 2 or 3 things at the same time, where we're going to move into multitasking. But the single tasking really sets us up to have a fuller mind. The same way I said, if we have less stuff in our physical spaces, we're getting along with less, but we have space for so much more things. Not that I'm focusing on single tasking most of the time. When I have to multitask, there's space to multitask. There's space in my brain to put those things in. I think it's all about waves. We need to focus on different things at different times, but focusing on single tasking is an awesome way to go about it. Then decluttering your mental space. How does this look like? How do I start throwing away things? Well, I read a piece by Colby Colchin, not exactly sure how to say it. Sorry if I absolutely butchered your name. He has a website called presentbetter.com, and he made a little exercise on how to declutter your mind. It's literally just taking a piece of paper, putting it into 4 blocks, and writing down what you need to prioritize, what you need to think about, dream about, and what you need to throw away. There's literally stuff in your mind that you just need to throw away. And this is not a 20-30 minute exercise every day. It's 2 sentences that takes you 2 minutes, and then you're done. When you want to write more, obviously you can. But if you just get into the exercise of at least once a day just decluttering, man, it makes all the difference. I'm literally writing 2 sentences a day in a small block like this, just to get what I'm thinking about out, and then we can go on. It really helps a lot. Moving on to digital detox. The part of our our brain is having information in front of us the whole time. It's on the TV, on our phones. When we drive, there's information going past. So digital detox simply means just being a bit more responsible and using your phone with purpose, or using your digital devices with purpose. And we're not talking about all the bad stuff that's on the internet or whatever. I'm literally just talking about not being on your phone, not being on social media, not being on, being on social media while you're reading a blog on your laptop or your tablet, and then also watching TV at the same time. It's just not going to work, and it's not conducive to doing amazing things. And it's also not helping with the decluttering. It actually clutters your brain, and you have less space to be creative. You have less space to be, to do cool things. So digital detox, definitely part of my solution. And then lastly, pause. I spoke about pause in the previous video, but I really want to focus on this. I really want to zoom in on this. Pausing is such a powerful exercise, and I think it's something that we need to do more often. Mentally pausing, just saying, I'm not going to think about anything, or in fact, I'm going to think about what I'm thinking about. Just pause and say, what thoughts are in my head right now, and how can I, either focus on what's in my head if it's a good thought, and if it's not, throw it out. I know I'm oversimplifying it, and it seems like I'm a broken record going on with the same things, but it's really something. That's why decluttering is such a next level topic for me the last few days or months. It's just because it's so freeing if you actually declutter. I absolutely love it. So yeah, I think that's it. So next time we're going to talk about spiritual decluttering. I know it sounds weird or sounds psychedelic. It's not. It's literally the same concept that we've discussed in the last 2 episodes, but something that I really want to dive into to kind of holistically look at decluttering. And by the end, with all 3 of these videos, hopefully I have added some value to you to go and think about, to say, listen, this is how I'm going to declutter my entire life. And I've taken different angles, and I'm literally experimenting with my own habits to say, how can I declutter my own life in a productive way? Not productive, I think that's the wrong word to use, but in a way that just makes my life experience so much richer. I hope I made sense. If not, go and read the article. That at least makes a little bit more sense. If all of this rambling on didn't make sense, I will have more guests on the podcast. I will be doing more challenges on the podcast. This was just something that I thought I really wanted to share and put out there. But thank you for subscribing. Thank you for staying tuned. If you have cool challenges, or you want to see me do cool challenges, please let me know, and I'll try my best to go and do it. But I really hope that this added value. If it did, share it please, and thank you so much for listening and watching, and I'll catch you next time.